Speaking of dullards, and speaking of how, like, again, the Trump administration is so bad, right? And you can read this article yourself. I will link it in the description when I upload this video. California police got hundreds of calls about abuse in private ICE detention centers. Cases were rarely prosecuted. So, again, you can read this whole thing. It's pretty long and in depth, but I want to give you an overview here and tell you exactly what the problems are. So, they start off with a story about Jay Lee stirred awake in early June at an immigration detention facility to find one of his cellmates sliding a hand down his pants. Lee, 38, had overstayed a tourist visa from South Korea. I wonder why. Maybe it's because there's a pandemic going on and that's kind of ruined our plans, right? No, 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 no. It must be because they're a violent criminal trying to start a gang in the United States and they must be thrown in a cell. Otherwise, they will unleash evil on the planet. Oops, someone outstayed a visa in a fucking pandemic when air travel is basically banned and like half the world has banned the United States. But yeah, no, he's outstaying his visa. Criminal. Violent criminal, a thug, a gangster. Lock him up. Right? It's ridiculous. Was now locked in a cell 22 hours each day with two strangers, one of whom had been convicted of soliciting the murder of a family of 10 in Belize. The third cellmate had told Lee that the Belizean man was violating Lee as he slept. This time, Lee felt it. He tried to report the incident, but 911 is disabled on phones accessible to detainees. At the Adelento, I'm so sorry. My dyslexic American ass can't pronounce these words. ICE Processing Center, where he was held, according to Immigration and Customs Enforcement. He said staff told him, again, by the way, just real quick, 911 is not allowed? What? And these aren't concentration camps that are violating people's civil rights? You can't call 911? What if a fire breaks out and the guards are sleeping or something? Can't call 911? What if someone tries to kill themselves and the guards aren't looking or you're not being like monitored? Can't call 911. I'm sorry. It's fucking ridiculous, dude. It's fucking ridiculous. But this is what the Trump administration is doing. This is what Barack Obama's administration set up. It's all a scam, folks, right? It's ridiculous. He said staff told him they would report the incident, but gave him no updates. Desperate for help, he asked a lawyer who was investigating coronavirus issues at the facility to report his allegations to the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, which sent a deputy to interview the three detainees. Afterward, Lee said he began having panic attacks. He wrote to an ICE agent, how can I do to get out of this nightmare? Okay? Details of the incident are described in a police report. Lee confirmed those and the details of the aftermath in interviews with The Times. Health records and federal court documents. The Times generally does not fully name victims of sexual abuse, except when they volunteer to be publicly identified. Lee's witness was deported June 22nd. A week later, the district attorney's office decided not to prosecute, citing a lack of evidence. Can't help you. Sorry, buddy. Sorry. I know we orchestrated the reasons why we can't help you, but oops. Uh-oh. I'm sorry. A Times investigation found that since 2017, at least 265 calls made to the police through 911 and non-emergency lines have reported violence and abuse inside California's four, and I highlighted this a different color because it needs to be understood, privately run federal detention centers overseen by ICE. When you have a private facility that their sole purpose is to make money, they don't give a shit about civil liberties. They're not accountable to people's civil liberties. They don't give a fuck about the Constitution. They don't care. And when you have a group, an organization like ICE, which just is openly run by racists and fascists under the Trump administration, just say, fuck it, do whatever. And these people are treating human beings like cattle for profit. It's fucking ridiculous. Making all that money from government contracts and subsidies. It's fucking ridiculous. Half the calls alleged sex crimes, including rape, sexual assault, and abuse against detainees. The rest were to report assault battery, and other threats of violence against detainees and staff, right? In only 3 cases in which detainees said they were victimized did records show a suspect was charged. Only 3, right? Out of at least 265 reports, according to the Times. The Times found, and in 2 of those, the suspects were deported before they could be arrested. One case involving 2 victims, a staff member and a detainee, is pending. Unlike in prisons and jails, people in ICE detention are not serving time for crimes. They are being held while immigration judges decide whether they should be deported. Many are asylum seekers, and most have no criminal history. But again, lock them up with the thugs and criminals. Yeah, someone who orchestrates mass murder should definitely be in the same room as someone who outstayed a visa during a pandemic. Again, who can tell? Anyone who's ever done anything even remotely not by the book when it comes to immigrating or staying in this country, automatically a thug, a violent criminal, an organizer, probably the head of Yakuza or something going on, right? They gotta be evil. They gotta be evil. The head of the mafia, MS-13, they're all evil, right? Because they outstayed a visa when international flights are banned and you have to, like, call South Korea to organize a special fucking ticket to get the fuck out of that country. Sorry, you're a criminal. It's fucking ridiculous, dude. It's ridiculous. What emerged is a picture of a system in which violence can be perpetrated against detainees with impunity, both by other detainees and facility staff. Detainees were banned from calling 911, according to ICE, and forced to rely on others to report allegations on their behalf. Some private detention centers brokered agreements with law enforcement agencies that dictated which crimes officers would respond to. When police did intervene, some were discouraged from investigating, prevented by staff from speaking to detainees who had alleged abuse, and instructed not to pursue cases they said had merit, according to police reports. Again, you can read the rest of this article on your own time, but I wanted to highlight what is going on in this country. And again, is Biden going to make this better? No. He's probably not going to fix this situation, but what he's not going to do is make it worse. What he's not going to do is install fascist morons who hate non-white people to be in positions of power, like Stephen Miller, for example, who has dictated a lot of ICE's policy over the last couple of years. That stuff is ridiculous, and it needs to be roundly condemned. And that is why this election is so important, but it's also not the end-all be-all. We need to organize our communities. We need to make sure that these people, they can't call the cops. The cops aren't there to help them. The cops aren't their friends. We need to organize a way that these people can call someone who can actually help them, like lawyer communities, organizations of activist lawyers, for example, right? Like maybe the ACLU should be involved, any of these organizations, right? But we also need to work from the bottom up. We can't rely on other people to help us. We have to help us. And that is the important message going forward. I'm sorry, I'm a little gaseous for some reason. But that's just the way it is.